So I wanted to give an example of this medieval Hebrew poetry with a really beautiful poem that was written by a poet by the name of Shmuel HaNagid. Shmuel is Samuel. And HaNagid in Hebrew means the prince, and he was called Shmuel HaNagid. He was born in the towards the end of the 10th century AD or BCE in Cordova, in Andalusia, in southern Spain. And because Andalusia at that time was under a Muslim rule, and the Hebrew and then Muslim culture really flourished during this period, and Shmuel HaNagid was actually, he was the sort of the chief officer of the army of the Kingdom of Granada. And so it's like number 2 under the king, the Muslim king, and he was also a doctor and you know, a religious teacher and a poet, like, you know, those medievalists, or that is medieval people were. And he wrote an enormous amount of poetry, all sorts of poetry, like wine poetry. They used to have wine banquets, and so there was like
poetry.
Yeah, wine poetry, love, very erotic love poetry. For by the way, for both men and women. So there's also so he has so he has erotic love poems to women and to men as well.
Interesting.
And but also I'm going to read a poem that he wrote, and this is more of a philosophical meditation about the meaning of life. And one can say that the meaningless of life and the fact that, you know, we're all going to die, and it's a beautiful poem. I'll just mention, because it's also very interesting culturally, that actually what these Hebrew poets did, they were deeply influenced by Arabic poetry, and their interesting effect is that the mother tongue of these Jewish people was Arabic. I mean, the Hebrew for them was a sacred language, was a literate language, but
liturgical language is
and
that
liturgical, yeah, but they spoke Arabic and they wrote also Arabic. And what they did, because they admired those Jewish poets, the Arabic language and Arabic poetry, because this was the heyday of Arabic poetry, which is a very, very long and beautiful tradition. So they actually adapted the poetics of Arabic poetry into Hebrew. So when I teaching these poems, I usually tell the students, think of it as Arabic poetry in Hebrew.
Okay.
Because they took the themes from the Arabic poetry, they also took the prosody, the way that the line is divided, the rhymes that I mentioned, and create this poetry. So I will read this poem in Hebrew. So, and if I was right before that, you can get a sense of a good poem if it's written in a good way. So I hope that you will feel that there's something.
Even without understanding.
Even without understanding. Again, the lexical, but there are sounds, and there.
Yes.
And so it's very interesting, and then I'll just paraphrase, because it's definitely that if we would like for me to produce something that
a simultaneous translation.
Yeah, this will take 48 hours,
Okay.
not 24. So, but first, just listen to this poem by Shmuel HaNagid that goes like that. הלינותי גדוד כבד בבירה, הרסוה ימי קדם, קצינים, וישנו עלי גבה וצידה, ותחתנו בעליה ישנים. ודיברתי לליבי, אי קהלים ועמים שכנו בזאת לפנים, ואי בונים ומחריבים, ושרים ודלים ועבדים ואדונים, ומולידים ושקולים ואבות ובנים ואבלים וחתנים, ועמריו נולדו אחר אחרים, בימים אחרי ימים ושנים, והיו על פני ארץ שכונים, והם היום בלב ארץ שכונים, וקבר חלפו מארמנותם, ועפר מחצרים נאמנים, ואילו העלו ראשם ויצאו, שללונו נפשים ועדנים, אמת נפשי, אמת, כאם למחר אאה, אני ואלה ההמונים.
Wow. Beautiful.
Yes, thanks to Shmuel and HaNagid. Yes, and of course, that we don't know how Hebrew sounded.
We don't know
in the 10th century Granada, Andalusia, but what's so interesting, so what did you think?
So it gave me a sense of peace.
Mm-hmm.
It, I don't know, kind of an inspiration, a motivation, a will to live, perhaps.
Interesting. So the episode, so actually Shmuel and HaNagid took something from his life, as it were, because as I said, he was the chief officer of the army of Granada, and he tells in this poem about one time that he went with his troops, and they were like wandering across the land, and they needed to rest for the night. And they slept in this abandoned castle. So there was like abandoned castle, and they decided to sleep there. And there in the middle of the night, he wakes up, and he starts thinking about, the meaning of life, and everything. He said, I wonder who lived in this castle, before that, before it was abandoned. And he started to imagine, those princes and kings and all those people. This place was full of life, and look, behold, now it's like a ruin. That there's nothing more. So we get this sense that life is not eternal.
Existential.
Yes, this feeling that, and then he said, but and if now all of a sudden all those people, and there are numerous, he said, we people on earth are just a fraction of all the people that lived on this earth before. So he said, we are the minority, the people who live.
The ones that are alive.
Yes. And he says, and if now they will come out of their graves, as it were, we will be terrified.
Oh, yeah.
Because we live and we want to live. And then he ends and he turns to his soul. And the soul in Hebrew is a feminine. So
the soul in feminine.
Yeah.
Okay, so in Spanish it's male. It's el alma.
El alma, see, which is a bit yes, but yeah, also in Greek it's pneuma or things like
pneuma.
that.
In Portuguese it's female as well.
Yes.
Alma.
So he said, tomorrow we will be in their place. We are actually going to join forces with them. We're just something that is, so it's a very existentialist poem. You understand this understanding that everything is going to pass.
We're all going there.
And we're going there, and it's beautiful because, it's also in a way terrifying because I really dislike armies, that's another podcast, but I'm a pacifist, so
yeah,
but you understand that the point is that, that they're sleeping during the night and maybe tomorrow that they'll head to a battle and die. So death is very, very concrete, but it transformed this moment of fear to this beautiful jewel of poetry, and in such and you see this was written more than 1,000 years ago, and it's still
cosmopolitan. It's still
it's very it's very universal.